Fellas, let's talk about some red flags in dating habits. Would you date this person if they had this sports habit? Is it a deal breaker or no? Refusing to plan a date on Sundays from September to January, just in case.
A considerate person.
I literally can't say anything about this. I don't see my wife from the first weekend in September until February.
Okay, living room is decorated with framed jerseys instead of art.
White walls are better. I don't want to walk in anybody's crib and look like a Dick's Sporting Goods threw up in that. Stop being a child, grow up.
When you have a monopoly, it's like you're only forced to do that one thing. By having options where we don't have to just accept anything that you give us, because if you don't give us what we're owed, like, we have other places that we can go.
Robert, Jason, there's a lot going on in the sports world right now, and some of these stories have been flying under the radar. Today, we're gonna take a little bit of time to give them the attention they deserve. Intrigued?
With that said, I have to be.
I can't wait.
So for starters, we're gonna be talking and explaining the recent NBA controversy that's been going on with the Atlanta Hawks and their decision to honor a legendary strip club in Atlanta called Magic City. Familiar? Probably.
I am.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, find out, is this a brilliant moment to be able to honor the culture in Atlanta during Women's Empowerment Month, or did the Hawks cross the line? We'll talk about it. Then we're gonna talk about global football that has been serving up the drama on a silver platter right before the World Cup. We're less than 100 days away. There's some storylines we gotta get through. And so we've got our guy, Carl Anka, coming through to talk to us about that. And then I sat down with co-founder of Unrivaled, the new 3-on-3 women's pro basketball league down in Miami, Napheesa Collier. We're gonna talk all about how they got the league started, everything that went into it, and how it could be impacting the future of pro women's basketball in general. All right, let's get going. So, this isn't the kind of NBA story that comes along every week. So I'm very excited to talk about this. Next week, on March 16th, during Women's Empowerment Month, the Hawks are hosting a theme night in honor of Magic City, local Atlanta establishment, local cultural iconic landmark, and the team says that they're gonna focus during this theme night on hip hop and culinary culture. It's gonna be more so the wings and the music and all that, as opposed to what it is typically known for. Let's just be real, a strip club. Adult entertainment, okay? We got Law Murray, my guy, here from The Athletic that covers the entire NBA. Law, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and I can't believe we're talking about this.
Yes, and I can't believe that talking about Magic City has gotten you the opportunity to not only come to The Athletic show, but also to write an article with the legendary David Aldridge talking about where people stand on both sides. You think that, yes, this is odd, but maybe it shouldn't be odd for folks.
Yeah, it's not as odd if you are familiar with Magic City and how important it is to the culture of Atlanta, but of course y'all don't know that. That's why they had to put the press release out the way they did. They cleaned it up. It was your typical reality versus LinkedIn press release. Now you're talking about Magic City as if it's just, a museum or something.
A cultural institution.
That's what we're talking about here. They told us about everything that Magic City has. We have podcasts and we have wings and we have the hoodie with the word mark on it. We're not talking about what it actually is, and that's what the controversial part of it is here. It is a strip club. What sports team collaborates with something like this? But if it's going to be anybody, I will say it would be the Atlanta Hawks. So,
not surprisingly, the responses to this have been a little bit mixed, right? It's been a divisive choice. Who are the people who have been most vocal in their criticism of this idea?
Well, I'll tell you what, like my mentions and DA's mentions definitely were flooded this week. It's like, this is what I get when I write about other teams. But then Luke Cornett put a face to, the conversation dissenting. It's almost like we had a State of the Union and we needed another half hour to see what everybody else really felt about this. And it's dangerous what Luke did in a certain way. And the reason I bring it up is I'm sure people feel like this. However, you got to keep that same energy because you decided to bring this up and you're a vet in this league and a whole lot of stuff has happened and this is what got you to tap into the blog.
So Luke Cornett, center on the San Antonio Spurs, also a Catholic, and I understand that his intentions were earnest in trying to protect women because a lot of folks think about strip clubs, they think about adult entertainment, and they think about the objectification of women. However, as you mentioned, and I'm saying this from the perspective of a woman, there are a lot of things that both the NBA and the NFL have allowed that not only objectifies women, but also harms women.
Mm-hmm.
Every single game you go to, you're going to see women dancing. They're not nude, but they're dancing. There's a lot more things I could speak about in terms of private lives of players. And we're not seeing people make blog posts condemning those things as they play against these players, as they play in this league. And so that's where I'm kind of like, this is interesting that we're choosing this as the moral high ground, Jason.
And he's going to find out what happens when you do step out. You know, we see a lot of athletes who choose not to say anything about anything, and we wonder why. If you are the arbiter of everything that is moral, now we get to the point where, okay, Luke, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about, you know, gambling and the relationship it has with the NBA has with gambling? You're gonna have to be able to be consistent about it going forward. And I don't know if Luke wants to carry that cross.
I think it's important to know who made this decision. The CMO of the Atlanta Hawks is a black woman who actually went to the same business school as I went to, Wake Forest Business School. She's very smart, Melissa Proctor. She is someone that came in as a VP of brand strategy. She's worked as a ball girl at the Miami Heat, at the Atlanta Hawks. She has been in the culture of not only the NBA, but also Atlanta. So she gets what moves the needle, and that is her job.
People are afraid to talk about certain things like this.
That's all it is.
You know what I mean? Like, look, this is real life for a lot of people, you know, and you can't sanitize everything. The Hawks are trying to sanitize it, but they were also conscious about what they're talking about here.
And I've heard a lot of ex-NBA players mention about the role that this is going to play in terms of bringing their family places. And I gotta be honest with
And that's the devil's advocate, right?
That's the devil's advocate point. It's just like, yes, the idea is there a certain responsibility to like make it a family-friendly environment, but they're doing that. Like the way they're presenting it is not making it a not friendly environment for families. They've talked about that.
And also like the culture part, like a lot of people like, oh, this isn't all that black culture is. But if we don't cover things in totality and talk about all of the things in totality, then you don't see the beauty in some of these things.
Yeah, like you always want to be careful about whataboutism. You know, you don't want to always have a forum where people bring things up and you want to shut them down and then you make them feel like you're not listening to them. And I think all we're saying is if you're going to bring this up, then okay, but like understand the context of what you're bringing it up in.
Well, Law, thank you so much for coming by, being the moral compass that we all need as well.
That was fine.
I think that was good for having me.
Guys, as of this week, we are only 100 days from the World Cup. So we thought we'd check in on what's going on with global soccer. And let me tell y'all, some crazy stories going on, okay?
Yeah.
So we had to bring someone in to help us break it all down. We've got Carl Anka here, who covers the Premier League for The Athletic. Hi, Carl. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Are you doing well?
We're wonderful. We're super excited to have you here because I'm not gonna lie, we're a bit of soccer novices on this side of the pond, but we figured that you could come in, educate us a little bit, give us some of your top storylines that's going on in the world of soccer.
Starting in the Premier League, one of the big stories that happened in midweek was Tottenham Hotspur lost 3-1 to Crystal Palace. Now, this is looking bad if you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Tottenham Hotspur have the 7th highest wage bill in the Premier League. They are the 9th richest club in world football. So Tottenham are in freefall. They might get relegated, which would be catastrophically bad for everyone involved.
This is like if the Golden State Warriors, after winning the championship in 2022, fell off and then had to go play in the G League, right? Like,
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Now, I really want to make this clear. Tottenham aren't doing bad because they've run out of money or because loads of players have left. It's not that someone's pulled the plug on money and they've had to do a fire sale of players. It's that a series of bad left turns over the course of 10, 15 years has now created a squad that isn't that good and has a bunch of players that, quite frankly, look mentally devoid of confidence.
What is it like being a fan of a team like that that's on the verge of relegation? I'm sure there's like an existential rocking to your core if you root for one of these teams.
Yes. Now, this is also interesting in European soccer because there's no draft system. There is no, oh, well, at least we'll get a good draft done. If you're the Spurs, you're going, oh, we're being bad right now, but we might get Wemby. The problem in European soccer is if you get it wrong, it can take a lot longer to fix things. The good news, and I'm doing this in air quotes, and I'm being very, very generous here. Tottenham fans are very, very good at having existential crisis. And there's no easy analog for it. But I suppose when you're a Bills fan, you're like, that's painful, but we know we can survive.
So this is interesting because Tottenham Spurs are in free fall, but there's another team that we are more, I think, acclimated to, the Wrexham team that's not in free fall. They're doing well. But I don't know if we're just seeing Netflix and things look good on our side. Tell us a little bit more about Wrexham and what they're doing and where they are.
Okay, so I mean, the short answer I can give to you, Rob Mack, the Hollywood actor, had the idea of why don't we buy a football club? And the club they chose was Wrexham. As we now know, Ryan Reynolds became an investor. Lo and behold, when you have two very well-moneyed investors into a football club, they can put a lot of money into it and they can run the club in a certain manner and improve operational costs, improve resources. And Wrexham got promoted from the National League into the League Two, and then they got promoted immediately into League One, but they got promoted last season into the Championship. So Wrexham are in the Championship right now. They are in the second highest tier of English football, and they are the darling of global football, if not quite the darling of English football. What's been really interesting is now we're seeing loads of other clubs trying to go for what is known as the Wrexham effect, where they say, can we entice a celebrity investor to bring money into our club? And then with that money, can we now try and do what Wrexham did and go up the leagues? So since Wrexham are an incredibly successful football club of the last 4 or 5 years, perhaps the most successful football club outside of the Premier League in the last 4 or 5 years, and they've also bred a number of imitators across the English League, it's also seen a huge increase in American investment in the Football League too.
So Wrexham and Tottenham Hotspur are going to be playing in the same football league next year, which is a fun place to be.
If Tottenham get relegated and Wrexham don't get promoted, they will be playing in the Championship together. So who knows? Wrexham could even be in the Premier League next season.
Whew, that is crazy to think about. And of course, there's the World Cup that's coming, and there's a country that might not be participating, and this is Iran. What's their future look like with this competition?
The honest answer I can give you right now is I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. So, like you've already said, Iran are one of the qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup. They are, at this current point in time, scheduled to be kicking off their group games across a number of host cities across the nation. However, due to changes in the geopolitical situation and the fact that we might be on the verge of boots on the ground in Iran, Iran might opt to pull out of the World Cup. This is a really, really interesting World Cup tournament in that it's a 48-team tournament. This is the biggest World Cup that we've ever seen. I mean, we're currently talking right now, and not every single country has been confirmed. We've still got a number of qualifiers to be confirmed in there. And due to the constant, very often changing geopolitical situation, there are 2 or 3 nations that may opt to pull out of the World Cup or may indeed not be able to compete in the World Cup for a number of reasons. So at this point in time, I cannot tell you in all good confidence whether or not Iran will be there. But if they will be there, I think it's better to focus on the Iranian people.
We want to get to the ticket mismanagement story that's going on right now. Hip us to what's happening.
I mean, the simple answer for that is everything's just too darn expensive. So
The rent is too damn high. Sorry.
The FIFA president is Gianni Infantino. Much like being the NBA commissioner or being the NFL commissioner, your job is to make sure everyone earns more money. You get increased eyeballs onto your sport, everyone earns more money. And Infantino's interpretation of that role is more games, more matches, more television broadcasters, more advertisement, and get football fans to open up their wallets. Infantino has been very, very bullish in saying that this will be the most successful World Cup ever, and this will have the most amount of football fans within the stadium. Now, when the ticket prices were announced, and to my European eyes, I sort of looked at the tier prices, put on my glasses and went, good Lord, that's a very expensive ticket. Now, if you are a football fan of, say, a smaller nation from Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, or Oceania, and you don't even have necessarily the monetary or socio-economical means of someone living in France, the United Kingdom, you're going, that is a yearly salary to watch one game of my national team in the United States, in which I'm already spending upwards of $2,000 to travel over to the United States, stay in a hotel. How could I possibly afford following my national team? But what we're seeing is, as we're getting closer to the tournament, tickets prices are beginning to get cheaper. And we're also beginning to see FIFA reps sort of tugging on their collars and going, have we put these prices too high?
One of the other stories about this subject on The Athletic this week was by Charles Davies, who was a former U.S. men's national player who attended a game during the 1994 World Cup. And he wrote about the impact that it had on him and the fact that it kind of lit a fire for him to want to play professional soccer. I think he was 8 years old when he went to this game. So what are your thoughts about kind of the cutting off of that pathway to accessing new fans in America, where the 94 World Cup seemed to do exactly that for a wide swath of people?
Yeah, it's a huge pressure point, and it's a pressure point that exists not just for world soccer, but for essentially every single sport in the 21st century. When you are heading to a World Cup or you're heading to your World Championship, there should be someone somewhere going, how do we use this moment to get more people interested? We've just seen this in the Winter Olympics, where everyone sort of switches TV on and goes, oh, I quite like curling. Or I'm sure there's loads of people that have seen Alyssa Yu and gone, oh, maybe I should get into figure skating for two or three more weeks. And it's this idea of, when there is increased attention, there's increased eyeballs, there should be a very, very quick apparatus to get fans in. The question now is, if these games within the stadium are getting more expensive, how can you again get more interested in it? And the best way I can sort of explain it to you is, watching a game in the stadium versus watching it on television is a bit like learning how to cook being stood in the kitchen versus learning how to cook watching a cooking program on television. You can absolutely learn by watching your favorite celebrity chef and going by a recipe. But there are certain things, sort of like how protein smells and the feel of things and like the pulse of something in a kitchen, that you just need your eyes there. And I think there's just a certain extra bit of magic, particularly in World Cup games, that you really want to be in a stadium to really, really get. And if you can't, what I would advise at this current point in time is go to watch parties and then go out and meet like-minded people. And trust me, please trust me, you will fall in love with soccer just as much as everyone else has.
Wow, this is an amazing primer. Thank you so much, Carl. We will be looking forward to this eventful summer of World Cup soccer, World Cup football.
Thank you very much. You can call it soccer, don't worry.
All right, so for our main story today, we are going to dive in to Unrivaled. This is the new professional 3-on-3 women's basketball league taking place in Miami. They just wrapped their second season. The Mist, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the teams, but the Mist won the championship on Wednesday night. It was electric. This whole season has been crazy for Unrivaled. And I went down to talk to one of the co-founders, Napheesa Collier. You may know her as a star of the WNBA, Defensive Player of the Year at one point. She got injured in the playoffs last year. She's still recovering from that. She also serves as the vice president of the Players Association on the WNBPA. People probably remember that fiery press conference that she had, her exit interview, and calling out the commissioner of the WNBA, Kathy Engelbert, around their leadership. And so, in the midst of the WNBA being deadlocked right now with its players in the CBA negotiation, Unrivaled is thriving in Miami. And so I wanted to know what it took to build this from scratch. So we chatted. Take me back to when Unrivaled first came together. What was your thought process as you came up with this?
It happened, I guess, in 2023 now. I had been in the WNBA a couple years where at that point you kind of see what's working, what's not. You know, you kind of see like the inconsistencies or the holes that could be filled. I had my daughter at that point, and it's like you have to go overseas in the off season to supplement your income, and I'm missing time with my family, I'm missing holidays, I'm out of the country. So that part was really hard. And a lot of people don't know, we make most of our money off the court. So brand building is crucial to like our livelihoods. Being visible for those brands is important. And when you're gone for 6 months in another country, they can't sign you because how are they going to use you? And then also just the sport is exploding so fast, and it feels like the people in the sport are not benefiting from that the way that they should. So through all those things, we kind of came up with like, how can we fix that? And Unrivaled was, I guess, like the baby of that.
You said we, and I know that you co-founded this league with Brianna Stewart.
Yes, we kind of started thinking like, hey, like what is this going to look like? What's the format going to be? And we came up with 3-on-3 pretty early, even though we knew it was going to be a hard sell in the beginning because it's different. And we knew we had to have the best players because that is what people want to see, like the best players in the world going against each other. So you can see how skilled they are. You can see these players. It was just like, once you start thinking down the road, it's like, okay, we know what our vision is, what we want to do. What are the steps to accomplish that?
Where do you even start with building something like this?
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, just stuff that you wouldn't even know you didn't know. But I think coming up with a business model was the first step, because if you want to get this off the ground, you need money. And so you have to be able to present a plan to potential investors. So getting our first dominoes to fall was the hardest one, because who's going to be the first person to take a plunge? Everyone kept saying, okay, if you get people, come back to us, you know, but we have to have the first person first.
That's like chicken or the egg, like that. Yeah,
exactly. Once we started getting, of course, those first few people and more players on board, that helped a lot.
What was it like bringing the idea to the players?
They were all super interested. You know, especially like when you start talking dollars and money, like that sells people.
That helps. Yeah.
And we wanted our salaries to be really competitive. Like we still have the highest, by far, an average team salary, because in sports, you don't get equity a lot. And so the fact that they are literally invested in, if the league does well, they make more money. Like what more buy-in can you have than that?
You took this on the road, went to Philly,
Yeah.
sold out an arena, made history. Tell us about that decision. Why did you want to take it to Philly?
We knew we wanted to go on the road from the very beginning, and Philly is ready for women's professional basketball. I've never experienced that kind of energy in a building before. It was unbelievable. It was cool on the flip side because I wasn't playing. I was able to appreciate it as a fan, just like kind of sit back and appreciate what went into it.
Yeah.
And I kind of took that moment during the player intros when they were coming down from the stands. So that was amazing.
Chills?
Yeah. They love the product that we put on the floor. And as an athlete, that's the best compliment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want your pity support. I want you to love what I'm doing, like love what my craft is.
I love this term, pity support. Would you say that women's basketball has had that in the past?
I think the tone has been that. Like, we have always had really very ride or die fans. Like, the WNBA is very loyal fan base. But I think now as it's growing, you have more of a casual fan, which is extremely important for the sport. Like, to have the casual fan is what makes it grow. I think it's a good thing. Like, you're always going to have the haters and the controversy and the negative people, but you need that too. That's what grows the sport. And whether you hate it or love it, you're still watching, and that's giving us money.
Count it up. Count it up. There's a narrative out there of the WNBA, Unrivaled, competitors against each other. What do you think about that narrative?
I disagree. I mean, first of all, we're in opposite seasons, so we're not even competing at the same time. But also, I think we really help each other, because one of the pain points was that when we aren't in the WNBA season, we go dark. By having Unrivaled, you still have all these star players who are on TV. Every single one of our games is on national television. So it keeps those names relevant. As Unrivaled grows and they go to the WNBA and they grow more there, then they come to Unrivaled and they grow more there.
Did the W ever have an opportunity to be involved with Unrivaled?
They did. Yeah, we did offer equity before we launched. Yeah.
And they turned it down.
They did.
What do you think about that?
I mean, that sounds like their loss.
When you look at what's going on in the WNBA, you guys are going through your labor negotiations. What does Unrivaled do to set itself as a potential standard or a comparison for the W?
Everything we're fighting for is salary, benefits, equity in the league. We have all these things without needing to be asked at Unrivaled. We want for nothing here. And not only do we meet like the minimum standards that we're begging for in the WNBA, we exceed them. So players see here what professional life should look like. And so it's really hard when you've been given that to accept less.
I know Nneka Ogwumike is now involved with Project B, a league that is supposed to be more so the global landscape. What was it like when you first learned about Project B, thinking about another league popping up in a different space than the W?
It benefits the players more than anything, because when you have a monopoly, it's like you're only forced to do that one thing. By having options, it allows us to have leverage where we don't have to just accept anything that you give us, because if you don't give us what we're owed, like, we have other places that we can go. And so when anyone has a job that is paying them, I'm happy for them.
So I want to get to the WNBA back to when you have your exit interview, your end of season press conference, and you go in there and you say a statement that is powerful.
I'm concerned about the future of our sport. We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world.
We'd already been in negotiations for many months at that time. And I just felt like there was things that needed to come to light. Just public pressure, I think, is very important, and trying to get things done like behind closed doors wasn't working. And I think some things that I heard were wrong, and I just felt like I needed to stand up and to say it. So I think it helped give us a little bit of leverage, a little bit of momentum.
Were you surprised by the reaction around it?
I was, actually. Like, of course, I knew basketball people would hear it, but it definitely reached farther than I thought it would, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it's so important, the narrative around these things too. People received it positively, but even if they hadn't, I feel really strongly like that what I said was the right thing. And so you kind of have to be okay with that too. Like, you can't control how other people receive things. And so I knew that going in.
Where does that strength come from?
My family raised me this way. When I was younger, I was in like a small town in Missouri, and I was trying to get on a basketball team. No one would take me on the team, basically. And instead of just taking that, my parents were like, okay, we'll create our own team. And so we recruited a bunch of girls from like kind of fringe cities in Missouri, and we created the Lady Warriors, and we became the best basketball team in Missouri. So
Wow.
my parents never take no for an answer, so I have to thank them for that.
I just feel like that is the premonition of Unrivaled.
Yeah. This was an empty room. It was a soundstage. And so we built everything, added extra locker rooms, of course, made the training room bigger. We added like a rest and recovery place.
News comes out that the WNBA has actually hit their revenue target, which triggers financial distribution, revenue share to the WNBA players to the tune of $16 million, $8 million of which is going to go to the players, the rest going to the league marketing agreement. That's a lot of money. How does that impact this labor negotiation that's going on right now?
Yes, of course, $8 million is a lot of money, but it's like 8% of everything that they made. We feel like we should have a fair slice of the benefits of that, and 8% is not a fair slice of that.
So now looking back on year two, time is rolling. Things are going fast, but where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully I have a couple championships.
Hey.
Yes, that would be great. Hopefully Unrivaled has continued to grow even more and continue to get better.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah, thank you.
I cannot tell you how cool this place was. It brought back so many memories, even my free throw routine, which I got to practice on the court. It was smooth.
Fantastic form. The facility looks beautiful. Obviously, there is a level of financial investment required in order to make that happen.
For sure. So one, Unrivaled got to go out to investors. They were able to get $340 million in terms of their last funding round. And that automatically provided them the structure to be able to provide the things that Napheesa was talking about. One, 15% equity being distributed amongst the players. And then two, higher salaries than even in the WNBA.
What's interesting to me is the Unrivaled folks going to the WNBA and say, hey, you want to invest in this thing? You want to be down with it? And she said, you missed out on an opportunity. Immediately in my mind, you double back when you see something has a proof of concept, when you see something being successful. Do you think the powers that be in Unrivaled would not answer that phone if the WNBA came calling again?
No, I don't think so. I think that they would be absolutely open to it. It's a matter more so of the NBA and the WNBA being humble enough to understand that they missed out on that opportunity and go back, especially after the fact that the founder or co-founder of this league directly called you out for your inequity and your inability to provide the needs that their league is, providing to players. So I don't know. It would be very interesting to see NBA, WNBA leadership eat crow a little and go back to Unrivaled.
I appreciate the job you tried to do and getting to kind of pull some stuff out of her about the labor negotiations. She didn't seem overly effusive in wanting to share. She was playing her cards a little bit close to the vest. But just your sense in talking to her and all the work that you've done, where do things stand right now between the players and the WNBA in those negotiations?
There's still a lot of tension, and there's still about a $5 million gap in the salary cap that the players want versus what the league wants. And there's also a significant percentage gap, about 15% on average, of revenue share versus the 27.5% over the course of the deal that the players want. So those two are the most important. Everything else is just,
White noise.
White noise. This ominous timeline that's coming up, if they don't get something on the books by March 10th, it could impact this season.
Appreciate the work you've consistently done with this and continue to do with this. It's a great conversation, and you did a great job with it.
Thank you.
Good job on the free throw. All right, gang, put your game faces on, okay? Game face.
I'm ready.
Yes, there it is. It's time for LFG.
Woo!
See? Random woos. I love it. Learning feels good. You know how it is. I give you a number. You tell me what it goes with. Simple. All right, the number is 37. Is it A, the number of surviving members of the now defunct American Basketball Association, shout out to the ABA, who are asking the NBA for financial compensation and public recognition for their contributions to the sport? And the 70s are a long time ago. It's tough out there. Is it B, how many thousands of people have signed a petition to save UNC's iconic Dean Dome from demolition?
Oh, yeah, isn't that?
37, right? Or is it C, the number of years Spanish football club Celta Vigo has been asking Madonna to give back the team jersey she wore during a Blonde Ambition tour stop at the club stadium? Madonna is stealing all the free shit.
No.
D, how many fewer kilograms F1 cars can now weigh since the sport's governing body reacted to their drivers' feedback and implemented a, quote, car diet to their 2026 rules? Can we get a drum roll?
Okay, let's do it.
Let's
The
get
metric system is the bane of my
Jeez
existence. What is
Louise.
37 kilograms?
Madonna, though, that's hilarious.
37 years?
But I don't put that past her.
I'm going to ABA.
ABA?
I'm a North Carolina girl. I'm gonna go with B. I mean, I played many an AAU game in there.
Yeah. The answer is B.
Woo!
See?
Yes!
There it is. Iconic Dean E. Smith Center, home to North Carolina basketball since 1986, is at a crossroads, and the decision about its future has divided the Tar Heel community. Did you know? The problem, the 40-year-old Dean Dome desperately needs repairs costing at least $150 million just to maintain its outdated status quo, but for an entire facelift will be about $600 million. The building's design constraints, no luxury boxes, only one concourse, thousands of below-market rate seats locked in perpetuity, are costing UNC millions in unrealized revenue at a time when schools are paying players through revenue sharing. There's now a push to rebuild a new arena off campus, prompting the Save the Dean Dome petition, which has gotten more than 37,000 signatures and counting. The bigger picture here is about more than basketball. It's about UNC's identity. No program, not even the one that produced Michael Jordan, is immune to this. I have to ask the group, what iconic sports venue was replaced or rebuilt and was never the same again? Chicago Stadium for me.
I'm in a spot now where the idea of watching the Bears in the playoffs on the lakefront and how cool that those crowds were, and now that they're going to move to an indoor stadium in Arlington Heights or Hammond, Indiana, I'm already worried about that.
Tough.
I mean, Oracle.
Yeah, Oracle's a really good one.
Oracle, it wasn't rebuilt. It just kind of sits on its own now in Oakland. Yeah, it just looks not great. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much to Law Murray coming by to talk to us about Magic City Wings, of course.
Shenanigans.
Shout out to Carl Anka, everyone at Unrivaled, Napheesa Collier for giving us a peek behind the curtain. Today was fun. Well done, guys. Remember, you can watch The Athletic Show first on Amazon Fire TV every Saturday, and then head on over to theathletic.com for more of the world's best sports journalism. Alrighty, we out.